my guildlings. It's been a while since I have graced you with my presence, but it is I, Izzet, and I am here for you. It has been a hectic month. I'm not going to make excuses, but that's one of the reasons I have not been able to do one of these for you guys. There's a lot of stuff that has happened. One of the biggest things, of course, is the Journey into Nyx spoilers. They have all been spoiled. I have no hidden information for you. I have nothing new to give you. We have seen everything from a Johnny to Godsend to the new City of Brass, which is lovingly called give me a second here, I'm thinking about it. Mana Confluence. It works a little bit different than the City of Brass. City of Brass states whenever it becomes tapped, you lose 1 life. Mana Confluence, on the other hand, says tap it and pay 1 life to add 1 mana of any mana that you want. Something like Chromatic Lantern actually puts a stop to that because you can tap it for any mana color just by being a land. We've seen the Starfish, which does already have a nickname, Patrick the Scryfish, which I do believe is going to be pretty amazing. There are a ton of decent cards. And a ton of cards that are going to be fun to play. One of the jokes that I've seen going around is, well, at least we now know where all of the money cards went from Born of the Gods. They all fell into the new set of Journey into Nyx. The way that I look at it is Wizards of the Coast, whether they had this idea already or not, has decided that they wanted to break standard with some of these cards. A lot of you are going to argue they don't break standard and whatnot. But that is what I'm going to be talking about tonight, because I'm going to be discussing 5 cards that, well, just might break standard. One of the ones that I do want to point out that is actually going to be one of my favorite cards that I want to play with, and I do want at least one, is Worst Fears. Worst Fears costs 1 black, 7 colorless, but this sorcery is going to be so powerful once it's used. You control target player during that player's next turn, and then you exile it afterwards. Now, think about that. Alright? We had a Planeswalker that allowed us to do that. He took a little bit to get up there, but Sorin Markov, his ultimate ability is you control players next turn. That was a powerful ability. Being able to do what you want with your opponent's cards and everything that they have. On top of that, you can tap them out for your turn after that. Think about the implications of this card. Okay? You need to think about it, because it's going to be important. So, what are these 5 amazing cards that I'm going to be talking about? They are mythic rares. The 5 new gods to grace our presence. Now, the last 5 gods were without some flavor. The only one that is actually seeing any real play is, of course, Xenagos, God of Revels. Kemetra is not being used. Afara is not being used. Let's just put it this way. They kind of ruined what they were going to do with the gods. So, my guess is WotC decided to make up for it. Now, we have been hearing about these gods from the first set, because their names have been in cards that we hadn't met them yet. So we do get to meet them now. And the first one I'm going to talk about is the Golgari god. She cost 1 green, 1 black, 1 colorless, a 5/5 indestructible. I am talking about none other than Farika, God of Affliction. This serpent-draped beauty is really, really strong for the new reanimator that's out there, the Dredge that deals with the graveyard. Having Lotleth Troll and Nemesis Immortals and and Night Howler, things like that to make it really, really, really strong. Farika, God of Affliction, like I said, it's only a converted mana cost of 3. It states, tap 1 black, 1 green, and you can exile target creature card from a graveyard, and its owner puts a 1/1 black and green snake enchantment creature token with Death Touch onto the battlefield. Now, of course, this is not going to be something you want to do to your opponent. But, just like Swan Song, doing it at the right time allows you to control how things go. Now, Scavenging Ooze is still out there. So, in response to Scavenging Ooze, they target your creature. You target your creature, you get a 1/1 black snake. They target their own creature. You target their creature instead. They do not gain the life, and Scavenging Ooze does not get the counters. On top of that, with Night Howler, Lotleth Troll, the new Demon of Fate, being able to get 7 black and green devotion is going to be actually really, really easy. Throw in Desecration Demon, things like that. Forget about it. Next, on the broken list of gods, is the Simic god. Now, Simic hasn't had that strong of a standing, and Bant hasn't really made its presence known. With this new god, I believe Bant is going to be stronger than ever. He costs 1 blue, 1 green, 3 colorless. With Bant, not that hard if you're running Bant control. He's a 4/7, and he's indestructible. We're talking about Kruphix, God of Horizons. Now, he has 2 abilities besides being indestructible. The first one is you have no maximum hand size. For control players, that's amazing. For control players that uses Sphinx's Revelations, that's even more amazing. His second ability plays into that. If unused mana would empty from your mana pool, that mana becomes colorless instead. He holds on to it. It floats. You can hold on to it till your next turn, and then Sphinx for 1,000,000. Not really 1,000,000, but you get what I'm saying. He's an infinite mana pool. Think of Omnath, Locus of Mana, only a better version of him. So, think about what you can do with the blue-green control decks that are coming out. A lot of control decks are running the Prophet of Kruphix because you can flash and all of your stuff on taps, and it makes a really, really strong showing. Add into the fact that you can tap out at the end of your opponent's turn and then untap yours and still have colorless mana in your mana pool is relatively amazing. So much so that people are already drooling over this for control. I am one of them. Unfortunately, I would have to splash green in the deck that I run to be able to use it. Doesn't mean I don't want to do it, though. The next one on this 5 list of broken cards is god number 3. The Boros god. Because Boros needs to be better. I don't know why they did this, but they did. 1 white, 1 red, 2 colorless. He costs 4. which means in a Boros burn deck or even a Boros creature deck, his mana conversion is relatively small. On top of that, he is a 7/4, indestructible. And I'm talking about Eros, God of Victory. This 7/4 pain in the ass that he is going to be basically gives all of your creatures madcap skills. Here's what I mean. Creatures you control can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So, madcap skills says the same thing. On the upside to that, madcap skills gives 3/0. Yes, 3/0 is very important. But along with not getting the 3/0 and casting infinite madcap skills on all of your creatures, Eros says prevent all damage that would be dealt to attacking creatures you control. No instant speed damage from red, no War Leader's Helix to kill your creatures, no Searing Spear, no shock, no anything. All damage prevention. Your Boros Reckoner, that is a 3/3, now has to be double blocked, so he gets dealt double damage. And it's prevented. Now, he doesn't get to use his ability, but you still have a Boros Reckoner to block with. Boros did not need this god. Wizards thought otherwise. Now, the 4th god that I'm going to be talking about hails from Orzhov. And the abilities of this god are honestly going to change the way the game is played, if the god resolves. Costs 1 black, 1 white, 1 colorless. Is a 5/4 indestructible. And I'm talking about Athros, God of Passage. He doesn't seem like much. He doesn't have 2 abilities. He doesn't have high power, high toughness. But he does have something that turns removal spells into bounce spells. He states, and I quote, "Whenever another creature you own dies, return it to your hand unless target opponent pays 3 life." In a one-on-one game, you only have 1 target opponent, so it's pretty easy to choose who is going to have to pay the life. In a group game, not so much. If I'm playing against player B and C, and B has been gaining life since the beginning of the game, and player C is down to 6, and player B casts Supreme Verdict, I'm going to choose player C. Is player C going to give up 3 life to get rid of 1 creature? I highly doubt it. But, like I said, group game mechanics. A bonus for this ability for control players is it is a triggered ability per creature that they control to go into the graveyard. So, you're playing against someone who cast Athros, and they play a Child of the Night, a Tithe Drinker, a Desecration Demon, and a Gary. You can pick and choose which one you want to come back, because they're going to come back. Do you pay 3 life for the Desecration Demon? Of course you do, unless you have another way of getting rid of it, like a Detention Sphere, or any of the numerous new exile spells that they have coming out in Journey into Nyx. Are you going to kill off the Grey Merchant? Of course you are. Are you really worried about the Tithe Drinker or the Child of the Night? Probably not. So, this makes all of your creatures, I wouldn't say indestructible, but really annoying to deal with. Do I see him in an Orzhov aggro deck coming out soon? Yeah, I do. So much, and it's so annoying. It really is. But there are ways to deal with it. You just have to work around it, like any good card. Athros is not just a good card, he's an amazing card. But there are ways to work around it. So there are good and bad to him. And you guys knew I was going to save this for the last one. From my guild, 1 red, 1 blue, 3 colorless. He's a 6/5. Keranos, God of Storms. Now, in the deck that you would run him, you're probably not going to get the 7 devotion that you need. Although you probably could if you really wanted to try. His ability is what I enjoy the most. Reveal the first card you draw on each of your turns. Whenever you reveal a land card this way, draw a card. Whenever you reveal a non-land card this way, Keranos deals 3 damage to target creature or player. So, in essence, he's permanent card advantage. Because if you draw a land, you get to draw an additional card. And if you don't draw a land, you get to bolt somebody. That's powerful in and of itself. What that means is if they can't get rid of Keranos, and you draw 7 straight spells, it's game over if you've hit him 7 times. I am biased to the fact that it's red-blue card advantage, which is really... Red has been crying for card advantage, that they don't have to discard something. Well, now they have it. Blue is attached to it, yes, but it is what it is. American Control, he's going to be in there. I can almost guarantee at least a 1 of. Is there going to be a straight red-blue? An actual Izzet deck? It's quite possible. Very possible. Izzet colors right now have a lot of great control cards. You have Counterflux, Dissolve, Syncopate. You have Keranos, Frostburn Weird, Thassa, Perforos, Shock, Lightning Strike. There are a ton of good mixes of red-blue cards. Throw in a little bit of white in there. Well, then you have things like Supreme Verdict as well. And Sphinx's Revelation. And you're running a deck now that doesn't really need creatures. Throw in 1 Aetherling, like all good American decks have. 2 Elspeth, a couple of Keranos. Assemble the Legion. See, now we're talking. You have win conditions that are now really, really active. So, I think Keranos is a broken card. I think all 5 of the gods have been stepped up since the poor showing of Born of the Gods. These cards will impact Standard so much. But they can be played around. So it's not necessarily something good or bad. You know, Oh, another combo with Kyranos. Kyranos and Thassa. I scry. Do I need the land and then the extra card draw, or do I want to bolt something? It's really your choice. You stack the triggers differently. Stack Thassa first. You scry. Oh, it's a land. Do I want the second card, or do I want to put it to the bottom? And if it's a land card, it's a land card. If it's not, hey, I get to bolt something. The combinations with this is actually really, really, really powerful. Now, do not think me crazy for not talking about one of the most important things that have come out in Journey into Nyx. And I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to keep this one about the gods, but I have to talk about the newest Planeswalker. I have to. He's the giant white-green elephant in the room. Ajani, Mentor of Heroes. A lot of people are calling him a trap card. Building a deck around him and having him go off and things like that are going to be really hard to do. Here's the problem. He's Selesnya, which means there's ramp, which means the 5 that he costs is not going to be that hard to get. 1 white, 1 green, 3 colorless. He starts with 4 counters, technically 5 because of one of his 2 plus abilities. So like his predecessor, Johnny Caller of the Pride, he starts at 5. Okay? So, there's a balance in that. Here's where the balance goes away. His first +1 ability. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. That, my friends, is incredibly powerful. And since you're playing ramp, that could mean your 1/2 Voyaging Satyr that you used to bring him out is now a 4/5. Or your Mystic Elf, Voyaging Satyr. Well, now your 2 Mystic Elves are now 2/2s, and your Voyaging Satyr is a 2/3. The ability speaks for itself. Yes, like Caller of the Pride, you have to have creatures to have the advantage. Here is where Mentor of Heroes differs from Caller of Pride. His second plus ability. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an aura, creature, or planeswalker card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So you don't have any creatures out. Well, Ajani solves your problem. He goes up +1, you reveal 4 cards, you have an aura, a creature, or a planeswalker, which if you're playing with this card in your deck, you're going to have either auras or creatures, and it goes into your hand. You drop it, next turn, it gets +3, +2, +1, whatever. The ability is there. And then, his -8. You don't get an emblem, which would be nice. You don't get anything special, which would be awesome. You just get 100 life. Now, I don't need to tell you guys, the people who play Commander, 100 life is nothing to sneeze at. 100 life gives you a lot of leeway to do things. And makes you really, really, really hard to kill. Oh, that Aetherling that just dropped. Yeah, it can hit you for 8. It can't attack yet. Johnny is at 8. Why don't I gain 100 life and get 9 turns? 9+ turns. The ability is there. abuse it. Oh, on top of that, you play Mentor of Heroes in conjunction with Caller of the Pride? Okay, Caller of the Pride. What's his final ability? You get 2/2 cat tokens for whatever your life is. So, if you've been playing such an amazing game that your life is at 120 because you haven't been hit at all, and you've been able to stop everything that they've been able to do, and you're still able to pop a Johnny Caller of the Pride, you get 120 2/2 cat tokens? Yes, it's living the dream, but doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean that someone's not going to try it. But I digress. That, my guildlings, are 6 cards from Journey into Nyx that are going to impact Standard. They're going to impact Standard in a big way. Big way. Do I personally want to make a blue-red counter-burn deck? Oh, yes, I do. Aetherling and all. Now, with the new Scryland that's the Izzet colors, that can be a thing. Do I want to make a white-black aggro deck with Athros? Yes, I do. I want to make control players pay out the nose to kill my creatures. Besides Boros aggro already being a thing, is it more of a thing now? Yes. Eros is ridiculous. Prevent damage, all damage, and they have to be double blocked. If the next set, I'm not talking about this upcoming set. I'm talking about M15 and beyond. If the next couple sets have any token production at all, like we have seen, Eros is going to be more powerful than we want him to be. Yes, there are ways to deal with these things, which is fine. But here's the key, and it is always the key, in dealing with people who promote cards as being broken. Every single card in Magic the Gathering's history has a way of being dealt with, has a way of being worked around. Now, that being said, if they don't have the answer, the cards are broken. So, food for thought, 6 amazing cards, 6 amazing mythics that are going to be in Journey into Nyx. And I leave you with that, my guildlings. I wish I could add more, but I've already been talking for almost a half hour. And as much as I know you guys love hearing me speak, I appreciate it. And on top of that, I love the fact that you guys have been listening. As always, like us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/helptheguildless, or help me promote this page by subscribing with the button below, and it will in-tune you to when I produce new podcasts. Now, if you have been listening this long, and I hope you have, I have something for you. My guildlings, I have had guests before, and these are my personal guild friends. I have a gift for you. It may not be important to you, it is to me. I am offering a seat in a podcast as a guest, but there's a way to earn it. And I will be telling you about that on the Facebook page. So, another reason to look us up on Facebook, so you can figure out the rules on how to win. And if you do win, I will let you pick the topic, and we will go as long as you want when you want to talk about it. So, that is it for me tonight. Thank you again for listening. You guys have been a great audience. I adore you. I love being able to talk to you about Magic the Gathering. Have a good night.